Hi, I've already shown you the two designs that I've chosen to work with for this series, but I wanted to just talk them through. So here I have them, and you can see the dimensions are 21.5 centimetres by 17.5 centimetres. I've chosen this size because of the paper I'm going to be working with and because I'm hand printing as well. So we'll be looking at paper and lots of different sorts of paper in another episode. So these two little pictures here are very much a matching pair in this, they have a very similar feel to them. One of the things that I found interesting during lockdown around our way is how footpaths are now appearing in the fields. So as people are out taking their exercise, so they're exploring places that they haven't been before, and so these footpaths are suddenly appearing. So I thought that would make a nice theme for a print. But I also like the way that these kind of stones in this print make a path as well. So I have these two different designs here, and they're going to let me experiment with many different ways of approaching the print, which I want to show you. So if we talk about this one first, this picture of fields near Mere in Buckingham, it's heavily influenced by the travel poster vibe because frankly Buckinghamshire looks like a travel poster advert in certain respects, so no apologies for that. But this field is actually also full of daisies because nobody's cutting anything at the moment. So I want to do two different approaches with this, and to try them out I would work with tracing. So I've made a couple of different tracings here. Let me just lay them out properly so you can see, to sort of explore different ways of approaching this print. So over here, I'm looking at a much more graphic approach where the cutting is going to play a big part in designing it. And because it's going to be a more graphic approach, I've thought about putting a frame into the picture. If you saw my previous film about designing for Lino, one of the things that I talk about is the kind of formality and gravitas that a frame can give. So here, I've got a frame, but it only takes up a little bit of the picture. It's just clipping round the top here. And you can see from the way that I'm sort of dividing up the picture, I'm starting to think about cutting marks that I might use in the print. I've also made some notes about how many blocks I might use. Splitting the print up and making it into its different blocks or its different layers if you're working in reduction bothers people quite a lot, and I'm going to try and explain my thinking process and the layers involved in another film. So I've gone out and bought some, well, I haven't gone out, I've ordered some coloured felt pens so I can do that at a later stage. So to go back to the frame here, I've put this into this print, but I've made an alteration. If you look here in this print, which is much more like the original, you can see that the tree goes right up to the edge of the picture, and that's absolutely fine. But here I've moved the tree down a bit so that I can just have that corner of frame because it works better as a balance. If the frame ended here and was just around this little bit, somehow I feel it wouldn't work as well. I like that little edge there. And when you think of the sort of, this is going to be very much a lush English countryside with the greens, because I want to show you about mixing colours, and green is always something that worries people. So nice green lush countryside and a blue sky. So I want that little corner of blue there. So I've moved the tree a bit. And on this one, in contrast, this one's going to be more naturalistic, but I'm thinking already about how those shadows in those trees work. And I'm going to be more painterly in my approach to this one. So this one is going to be all about mixing colours and wiping back and things like that. So to go back again here, you can see in the clouds, I've actually put lines. I quite often use this line technique in my clouds, and a sort of more patterned approach. And that immediately gives a more graphic feel to the whole image. So this one again is going to be a much more, I wouldn't say conventional lino cut, but it's going to have a less naturalistic feel to it. So that's that print. So to look at this print of my Scottish landscape here, I want to use this print to give a sense of distance, and I also want to show how I would use white space in this print. So I'm going to cut out most of the foreground and just have these rocks coming up to this pass. I have a great fondness for the idea of a lot of space in the foreground and a lot of detail in small areas. So I'll quite often put all the action sort of at the top or at the side of a picture and then have everything leading up to it. So I have a tracing here that I've done of it just to catch the kind of fundamental points there, and I've put in these edges around the rocks where there might be shadows, not because I intend to cut a block exactly like that, but just as a guide. So in the next film that I'm going to make, I want to talk to you about tracings and making tracings for going on to lino cut. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me for the next film.